Hey, what's up, everybody? Going to go through the NBA games again today. This slide, you can see what the market's at or what it's been throughout the time from open until now, highest and lowest, not necessarily open and close. And then also what the model's predicting. I will go through each of these games one by one, try to let you know what I see, what the model sees, and what the model is not seeing from these games. All right, do a recap of yesterday. Pretty rough on the overall of the model. Some of these I did try to warn you about if you would have watched the video. If not, you may not have understood that some injuries and stuff are not in there. So, like Philly, it predicted Philly to win. Like I said, Phoenix should have definitely won that game with Embiid and George both out. Um, And then the Warriors game also, Butler going down, that injury was not going to be reflected yet, and obviously that's a huge loss for them. So got the everything right on the Minnesota Utah game, surprisingly, because Naz Reid played and Markkanen didn't play. I thought Utah probably would have got beat pretty bad there. Um, but yeah, pretty rough day yesterday. We'll hope it gets back. We had a really good day the day before. So the first game we'll go over today is going to be the Boston and the Indiana game. We got Boston predicted at 118.7 and Indiana predicted at 107.8. The market has Boston winning by 10 to 11 and a half in that range, and it has been between 225 and a half and 227 and a half. So the model is smack in the middle of that total, and it is right there on the same for Boston. Looks like the spread's been growing all week. Started at Boston at 2, has gone up to 13. Then after that defensive battle in Detroit the other day, it dropped back down to around 10. So the total's been pretty consistent too. Started a little lower at 221, but as the spread's grown, so has the total. Got up to almost 230, sitting at 226 and a half right now. Boston is 12-7 at home. They're 2-3 in their last 5, 6-4 in their last 10, and Jalen Brown was showing as probable. Indiana's 2-18 on the road. They're 2-3 in their last 5 and 4-6 in their last 10. And it looked like all of their injuries were people that have been on there for quite a while, so all of that should have been reflected in the model. The biggest thing is just Jalen Brown here. I think if unless for some reason he doesn't play, everything I think in this model should be pretty good. I would expect Boston to cover. Indiana might keep it close for the first half, but they're just missing too many people. They can't seem to hang around at the end of games. So I like Boston to cover. You might want to adjust it down a couple points, give yourself a little leeway. And then on the over under, it's like I said, it's right there in the middle. It is between the 225 and the 227, right at the 226. So I'm not sure I would take a side on that. If Yeah, no, I probably wouldn't take a side. Both teams can struggle to score a little bit, but Boston can absolutely lay it on when those players get hot from beyond the arc. Right now is a game where the model's a little bit confused. We got Cleveland going to Charlotte. Charlotte is predicted to win by 1 point by the model. The market has Cleveland by 2 to 3.5. And then again, the total's right on the bottom part of that again, 235.8. And it's been between 235 and 237.5 since the market opened on this game. So it started out with Charlotte at 4, flipped to Cleveland, and then it is back to Charlotte now. Total has been between 230, 238. So pretty consistent on that. It's just not sure who's going to win. The biggest thing on this one is going to be the injuries. Cleveland is still without Darius Garland. That is a huge hit to their team. And then Sam Merrill's still out. So Charlotte looks pretty healthy. So they've been playing a lot better. That rookie Concanapple has been awesome for the team, hitting threes. Miller's been doing a great job hitting threes. Miles Bridges and Ball have been playing their normal games. So at least when Ball's been playing. I kind of do like Charlotte, at least to cover the spread. Um, Not sure on the over under. If Garland was playing, I think this would easily go over, but I think it's probably pretty close to what it should be. I do like Charlotte, like I said, maybe add a couple more points, give them up to 5 or something, but if they play their game and they're not cold, they are at home, so hopefully they'll be hitting more shots, but they have a good offense. They've been playing better defense this year, and then just missing Garland and Merrill, I think, will be pretty big for Cleveland. Donovan Mitchell did not look too great without Garland playing last game. All right, now we got Atlanta and Memphis. I guess I didn't go over the last games for Cleveland and Charlotte. Charlotte's 7-12 at home. They're 3-2 in their last five, 5-5 in their last 10. And Cleveland is 10-9 on the road, 3-2 in their last five, and 6-4 in the last 10. So now we got Memphis and Atlanta. Memphis is 9-11 at home. Atlanta's 13-12 on the road. Memphis is 2-3 in their last five, 3-7 in their last 10. And Atlanta is 1-4 in their last five and 4-6 in their last 10. Atlanta looked like they didn't have any new injuries, and Memphis had Aldama questionable. Other than that, it looked pretty normal. Right now, the market has Memphis winning. It's been between 2 and 3.5, and the total's been 236.5 and 238.5. So again, the total's been right here with the market. It's the spread that is a little different here from the model. The biggest thing to me, I think, aside from Aldama being questionable, he's a pretty big piece for that Memphis normally bench. So if he doesn't go, that could hurt him a little bit. But I think the fact that they were in Europe last week, coming back, seeing how they're gonna react to that long flight and everything would be one of my biggest things. John Morant looked absolutely incredible last week in London. So being back home for his first game, I would expect him to bring that same kind of energy. Atlanta, Atlanta has some really good games, and then they just don't show up in other games. So I would expect Memphis to win. I can see why the model and the market are disagreeing on the spread because I'm not really sure how big this could go. It started with Memphis at 1.5 this week, got up to 9, and is sitting at 7 right now. If Memphis plays their game, obviously they can cover that spread. If they struggle a little bit, Atlanta has some players that can put up some points, so and they can rebound pretty well. So it should be a pretty good game, I think. All right, so we got Oklahoma City going to Milwaukee. It has Oklahoma City winning 118.6 to 112.2 on the final day. Spreads adjusted from 3.5 up to 7, sitting in around that 6.5 mark for the last few days, and the total's been really consistent, right there at 230. So it has actually been within 1.1 the entire week. It's pretty impressive. So the total should be pretty consistent, but Oklahoma City and Milwaukee both have some injuries. Caruso, Hartenstein, J Dub all out for Oklahoma City. And the other Jalen Williams, J Will, the center, he is questionable. And then Milwaukee has Turner and Porter, both questionable. So those are obviously big pieces for Milwaukee. If they don't go, I think Oklahoma City covers that spread pretty easily. If both of them play, I think it could be a little closer. I think maybe the mark or the model might be on the right side on that one. Milwaukee is just depends on how they play. If they can get Green hot from outside and get some people to help out Giannis, then they have a decent team. But when they just can't hit their shots, man, they have some absolutely ugly games. So the model's been pretty consistent all week. Like I said, the spread's grown a little bit and then stayed consistent the last few days. Total's been consistent all week. So depending on how those injuries play out, this might be a pretty good one to try to go on because the model does have a lot of confidence in this. All right, here is one that I'm not sure why it thinks it's going to be so close. I would assume it is the home and away. Detroit is 13-6 on the road. New Orleans 7-18 at home. New Orleans is 1-4 in the last five, versus 4-1 in the last five for Detroit, and 2-8 in the last 10, versus 7-3 for Detroit in their last 10. New Orleans, same injuries they've had. Detroit had Karis LeVert as questionable, so a decent role player, but not a huge miss. They've had Cade and Duran out recently, so I'm not sure if that's part of why it shrunk back down. Obviously, the last game was just a 1-point win against Boston, but Boston is a much better team than New Orleans. So the model likes it close. The market is at 7.5, 9.5 is the range it's been for the spread, and 232 to 237.5 on the total. I do believe it actually came down from 237 and is at the 232 right now. Model likes it at 231, so still slightly on the underside, but in the direction that the market's been going. Um, yeah, I don't know why Detroit's not predicted by the market to cover the spread. I would expect them to. They're definitely the better team. Like I said, I think maybe the Duran and Cade Cunningham sitting out has maybe reflected a little too much in this one. But they're healthy, they're playing, and they looked pretty good last game. All right, now we got Brooklyn and New York. Brooklyn is 6-13 on the road, 1-4 in their last five, 2-8 in their last 10, and they have Daron Sharp is questionable today. So good bench player, especially on the rebounds. New York is 16-6 at home. They are 1-4 in their last five, and also 2-8 in their last 10. And they don't have anyone that I saw on the injury report finally, which is good for them. But they had a pretty clean injury report last game, and they got destroyed by Dallas. So that one was also at home. Um, New York has not been looking good, and I am very surprised that they have a 10.5 to 11.5 point spread in the market. Uh, they haven't even been showing that they can win games, so I think that they'll cover a double-digit spreads. Pretty crazy to me. I didn't see Porter on the injury list or anything, so if they have Daron Sharp is questionable, if he plays and they're fully healthy, I don't expect New York to cover that spread. Um, the total, I think I do like what the market has here on the over because I don't see a whole lot of defense. I think New York is going to come out pushing just the way that they've been playing so bad. They finally have a defense that they'll be able to score on, but I don't think that they're going to stop Brooklyn enough to cover double digits. They can. They obviously have the talent, but they haven't been showing anything recently. Model started at New York at 6, shrunk all the way down on day 3 to point 0.2, went back up to 7, and now it's at 3.5. The total's been right there between 223 and 228.5 all week long. So, like I said, I like the over. It's been trending in the over direction. It's been gaining. Um, it has not predicted New York to cover the spread at all this week, and I don't see it. So I would lean Brooklyn on the spread, and I would lean over on the total on this one. All right, so the last game we have is Toronto and Sacramento. The model likes Toronto to win, but not cover the spread, and it likes the over by a couple points. We got Toronto at 13-9 on the road, 2-3 in their last five, and 6-10 or 6-4 in their last 10. They'll be without Podol and Barrett today, and they have Colin Murray Boyles as questionable. If he doesn't go, that's a big hit to the rebounding against a team that can rebound pretty well. Sacramento is 9-15 at home. They're 3-2 in the last five, and they are 4-6 in the last 10. Same injury report. I don't think they had anyone except for Keegan Murray on there, who's been out for quite a while. The model's pretty confused on this one. A lot of back and forth. Started at 2 down to pretty much even, back up to 2 to 4 to Sacramento, flipped to Toronto. So it's been all over the place. The total has been pretty consistent. Went up a couple points after the big game from Toronto last night against Golden State, and then that's a big part of why it flipped as well. Uh, Toronto had a huge game scoring yesterday. Golden State just couldn't stop them. I don't think that'll be the case tonight, but you never know. That was probably the best game I've seen them play without RJ Barrett all year. So I'm on this one. I think I would probably lean the Sacramento spread side. They both played yesterday. Sacramento's at home at least. So huge game from Toronto yesterday. I just don't expect that all to carry over. I think a lot of that was just Golden State missing Jimmy Butler for the first game and trying to figure out how they're going to do things now. So yeah, I would agree with the model here. I like Sacramento to cover, and I do like the over, I think. All right, so here's the NHL again today. This model has some good days. It's also pretty tricky because the low goal scoring, it's hard for the model to figure out what exactly is the most important thing. Obviously, shots, goaltending, and everything, but sometimes goalies have really, really good games. Like the other day, Spencer Knight had outstanding performance. Um, but here's what we got for today. The high confidence ones are Toronto and Utah. Detroit and Toronto have both been pretty hot recently, um, and it does look like the spread has shrunk towards Detroit. It's still predicting Toronto by half a goal. Might be a little bit better going on the over on that game. Both teams can score pretty well, but the other one, Utah against Philly. Philly's been struggling. That spread um, grew and or shrunk and then it grew. So I don't know. Utah's been playing a little bit better. Philly's goaltending is absolute garbage. So I would maybe even take a team total on Utah on that one. Would probably be good. The Islanders in Seattle. Looks like it started. Excuse me. Started on New York on the Islanders and it went to Seattle and has grown throughout the week. So it's a medium confidence. And then it's got Colorado, Washington, Calgary. Um, to me, Colorado should be the highest confidence. I'm surprised it's at 50 and even started on Anaheim. Anaheim can score a lot, which is probably the reason it's predicting them to score goals, but they give up a lot of goals too. So typically they give up more goals than they score. I would lean Colorado. I think that's probably one you could even go on the spread, especially being in Colorado tonight. Pittsburgh and Calgary. It has the lowest confidence. Started on Calgary, flipped to Pittsburgh. Still been very close all week. Other than that day one, which I believe day one to day two is when I changed the model a little bit. Switched around some of the features and has been performing better since. That's why I added to it. Add this to the slides. So there's the NHL. I have 3 slides today for the college games. I will also attach these files at the bottom from Drive like I did yesterday. Okay, so I'm not going to go through all of these games. I'll go through a couple. Like if you want to, what you want to look at on this most is probably the confidence tier. If it's low, obviously question a little more, especially if the confidence level is low. Like those Central Michigan, Charleston Southern, those are both at 3. Um, I believe Ball State and Central Michigan are both pretty bad teams, and those are the games I try to stay away from. If both teams are bad, the model is going to find a trend. Excuse me, but the the chances of that trend playing out in these games is low because normally they'll play a team that's at least better than them, and then one of these bad teams has to have a good game. So maybe they'll stick around like it's showing, but I normally try to find teams where there's a real edge, and then I try to play the edge. Better teams against a worse team, especially if they're playing at home. Um, I thought I had some yesterday. I was going to go Michigan spread against Indiana and then Miami to not cover the spread because I knew what those fan bases were doing the night before. And then Michigan wanted to just let them hang around the second half and win by 14 and not cover the 16-point spread. So some you win, some you lose, but there's all this is data backed. I mean, there's a lot of information that goes into these games. So I would look for the higher spread or higher confidence. New Mexico 97, Furman 89, Arizona 94, and then just look at the spreads from day one to day 7. Compare that to how you think they might do, and try to find where the data backs what you think they'll actually do. So I'll show you. It says 1 of 4. There's only one game on that last slide, so I only have 3. I'm just going to show you these next slides real quick and not talk much. Again, so on these, you're going to want to look at the confidence. Rhode Island's down at 2, Murray State at 6, and then you have Illinois at 90. You have Gonzaga at 100. You have St. Mary's at 92. So I would look into those higher confidence ones before looking into anything with the low confidence, unless you think you have a pretty good read on the game yourself. Here's the last slide. The highest confidence ones are going to be, looks like North Texas and Nebraska, Mercer. So I would check out some of those. Florida Atlantic's there at 77, still pretty good. So a lot of games to choose from. Make sure you do your own research. Don't just blindly follow the model because that'll never end up in your favor. I mean, it can for if you're just doing one game at a time, but if you're trying to parlay anything, make sure you're adjusting lines or doing extra research and getting whatever you're confident in as well. So good luck out there. Hope you have a good day. We'll see you tomorrow.